My name is Amanda Stevenson, and I would like to welcome you to Southeast Washington, D.C. This is Southeast Washington, D.C., the waterfront and ballpark entertainment district, the corridor of commercial and retail development, the entertainment and relaxation mecca, and D.C.'s new food hub. But wait, it's Southeast, but this is not Ward 8. If you didn't know, there are two sides to Southeast, and to get to the other side, which is Ward 8, we have to go across the Anacostia River, the body of water that separates us from and over the bridge that connects us to food and economic access and opportunities. Take a ride with me across the bridge that many travel, leaving Ward 8 for food and economic refuge. Today, I'm taking you back to the 8th Ward of Good Hope that Martin the King dreamed of, on a food journey through the disparities, desires, and dreams of residents and other stakeholders. With resilience, they reimagine the broken system. As I am working to address the problem of how might we create a new and inclusive food culture to improve the health and wealth of Ward 8, where the cost of living is outpacing the incomes and life expectancies of many residents. To now realize a healthy and equitable food culture in DC, starting right here in Ward 8. Natural and man-made change like famine, war, and forced migration impacts the economy, the currency, population change, as well as the tolerance for those people groups impacted and their quality of life circumstances. So what happened to the financial, physical, and mental health of those people groups as time changed? And how have we taken on the charge to address the need for food access and re-education for survival and cultural survival? Let's think about DC's food culture, specifically east of the Anacostia River in the 18th and 19th centuries. I believe fishing and farming were the main food sources, but what happened in the 20th century? So today in DC, specifically in Ward 8, you might wonder what cultural changes and environmental conditions influence the food culture here. I know I do.
DC's food culture, wow. Fried chicken, french fries, ketchup, mumbo sauce, salt and pepper. You know, if you native Washingtonian.
I'm originally from the Chicago area and grew up coming to DC my whole life, really. My dad grew up in DC. My grandparents lived here, so every Thanksgiving and family holiday, I'd come down here and grew to really love it and moved here after finishing college. Anacostia does share some similarities to the kind of environment I grew up in, but I would say also a fair amount of differences.
I see my community food deserts.
Here in Ward 8 right now, at this current moment, we only have one grocery store for over 80,000 residents.
Ward 8's food culture from the grocery aspect. So working for Giant Food, we are the only grocery store in Ward 8. And so definitely understanding the footprint that we have in the community's grocery.
I grew up in Massachusetts, and I lived there until I was 18, and then I moved to DC when I was 18 years old. The food culture there is very different. There was a lot of access to food, at least in the community that I grew up in. We had 3 grocery stores just in the small town that I lived in. I don't even think I ever thought about access to food when I lived there.
You know, I think with the food culture in Ward 8, you definitely have to take into consideration food access as a part of that culture and that low food access, adding to the food culture within Ward 8.
I grew up in what I would say was a very affluent suburb of Chicago, and definitely less exposed to a lot of the problems and challenges that face Anacostia and Ward 8.
I was born here, born and raised Washington, D.C., Southeast, Ward 8. And from my experience, a lot of the food options here were very limited, especially healthy food options. I was raised on, carry out, so-called soul food. Not many healthy options at all.
We have liquor stores in every corner. Our people don't know about fitness. We're not aware that we're the ones that are statistically getting heart disease, high blood pressure.
Well, my wife, back in 2004, she had heart disease. She had a heart murmur, and she had fluid on the brain. That caused her to pass away. And my son suffered from the same thing. He had heart disease also, being obese, and his heart was 3 times larger than it's supposed to be, and he passed away also.
Chronic disease is something that does not have to be our heritage. It does not have to be our death sentence.
We know that, Ward 8 has some of the highest rates of food-related chronic disease, or just chronic disease in general, especially when you compare it to other areas of Washington, D.C.
Like if you go over to 1D, 2D, it's a big difference. Over there, you're going to see more stores like the Fresh Food Factory on those areas. So I would like to see more of that here in this area where there's a greater access for people to come. Because I know where I work at, it's quite a distance to get to a Fresh Food Factory, so something needs to be over there to help people get the foods that they need.
We do a lot of what's convenient. So if that's what's convenient in our area, that's what we do. That's where we go to. That's why we, to go to the doctors all the time. That's why the dental problems are high. That's why teaching children, you see them fighting, they're upset, they're moody, they don't have the proper nutrition. And they're going to only have the nutrition what the parents give them, because you eat what your parents eat. And if your parent is obese, you're going to be obese. You're not going to eat separate food. So unless everybody's educated, everybody's going to do the same way, be the same, act the same way, have the same high dental bills, if you can afford to go to the dentist.
We have, unfortunately, because of poverty and because we have those who may not have the ability to access opportunity, we have a culture clash that it's happening within our own city. And so until we have this level of understanding of historic trauma and racism that plays into the system, that gives way to a built environment that is unequal, this is where the balance is skewed.
And I actually have been into the Giant that's on Alabama, near Stanton. And there are some noticeable disparities compared to the grocery stores, in the suburbs and in other wards of Washington, D.C. I think maybe some similar qualities and stuff, but I think they have less access to certain things.
I think everyone is entitled to healthy food options. There should be nowhere in the city where you can go and get better options than another part of the city.
I grew up eating a lot of fresh food, either from my parents' garden or from hometown farmers market. Markets are part of the tradition there and are quite accessible. I found that fresh food here is more expensive.
I'm gonna be real, we do not shop in Ward 8 unless we have to. We usually go to Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, because I remember there's one Safeway that I know about, like Giant, but there's not a lot of actual grocery stores which you can get like normal food, just not like corner store food. But I think it's really a food desert. You would have to drive a few more minutes or walk a few more minutes to get to an actual good place, but not a lot.
So for us, we've been doing a lot of Instacart. So Instacart through Wegmans has been our go-to. We do Wegmans, Whole Foods. If I need something real quick, I might go to the grocery store around here, but the grocery stores around here aren't really good.
Have you heard of the Fresh Food Factory market?
I haven't, but I'm about to go check it out. I'm going to check it out. I have to now. I have no excuse.
I work at the Fresh Food Factory market in Ward 8. I provide good customer service for the people in Ward 8. And we also gives out a lot of food for the people in Ward 8. And we like to help our community and make it better.
In Ward 8? No, not in Ward 8. No restaurants in Ward 8 that I really go to.
You have a lot of convenience stores. You have a lot of greasy food places where they, whatever they cook one food in, they use the same oil, taste the same way. And we're like, are they serious? They think you can't tell the difference? It's, you talk about lack of respect for the human being, Don't even bother to change the oil. Just whatever they have for one, they have for the other. They figure you're not going to say anything anyway. You're just glad to have you. You won't speak up for yourself. So this is what you're used to, and this is what's given out all the time. So we have plenty of convenience stores, plenty of carryouts, plenty of greasy foods. And that's what you train your taste buds to do, deal with greasy foods, and that's where you have your problems with your health. Obesity, high blood pressure, diabetes, and it's shameful. But if you don't have the transportation to go where the fresher foods are, then you just get used to what's in your area.
But I will say the culture isn't as healthy as we would ideally want it to be.
I think Ward 8 is mostly fast food or quick snacks like chips, mostly made from corn.
Again, these are not foods that's going to bring out best performance now.
I would ideally love to see us starting to look more into, more of a holistic, organic food culture. But as of now, a lot of our community residents in the community, we're kind of like, we do a lot of fast food. There's a lot of fast food spots here in the community.
Just a quick update. Ja does eat in Ward 8. He has two favorite spots. He likes to eat from Everlasting Life or at Turning Natural. And he likes to shop at the Fresh Food Factory's market.
I'd say that the food culture in Ward 8 is evolving. I mean, rapidly evolving.
There are a lot of great businesses that are in Ward 8 that are pushing healthier food, like yours and Turning Natural and, so many that are really invested in the health outcomes of Ward 8 and looking to help increase access to fresh fruits and vegetables.
We have everything from Starbucks to Busboys and Poets to Turning Natural to the Fresh Food Factory, the Open Crumb, just east of the river cafe. So many opportunities for prepared food, not enough for fresh food.
But when you look at the work really being done on the ground, and you look at the advocacy, you look at community members really taking the charge and not only working to better, the health of their home, but their broader community, their neighbors. I would say that Ward 8, has a healthy heart.
I do garden and I grow different herbs such as oregano, thyme, rosemary, lavender, and also I have a few succulents that I grow outside.
We've been gardening tomatoes, radishes, herbs. We've been also planting fruit trees such as figs, pears, apples, pawpaw. So we already have figs, which is enjoyable.
I'm planning to start my own flower shop, and my grandma's friend, I believe, her partner is actually a farmer, so he sent me some books. And I just ordered some seeds on it, and I like to help my mom at the farm that she runs. I haven't been there in a while because I have online school and work.
I'm lucky enough to have a garden at my house, and we grow fruits, vegetables, spices, herbs, and then a bunch of non-edible but ornamental plants.
Capital Area Food Bank, they've launched their curbside grocery truck, which is now going out into different communities that have lower access to getting or not able to as easily get to our store.
I'm an urban farmer here in DC, and so my contribution to Ward 8 is growing food and helping to provide a space where people can learn about growing their own food, where they can spend time in nature, bring their family. I'm also an herbalist. So I teach classes around herbalism and empowering the self through working with herbs and reconnecting to our ancestral heritage.
And then with my business partner, Andy, who I have this practice, this architecture practice, build this with, we also run something like an experimental orchard called Fairland. It's a site, a marginal site beside railroad track next to the on-ramp to the 11th Street Bridge. So kind of at the outer boundary of Anacostia. It had been essentially a garbage dump informally for most of its history. And since acquiring the property, we've transformed it into a native fruit tree orchard. That is, as best as we can make it, a resilient ecology that's also productive. So there's a bunch of native fruit trees, fruit-bearing trees like pawpaws and persimmons and black cherry trees, in addition to other plantings like sumacs and black locusts, tulip poplars, and then a bunch of space reserved for raised planter beds. And we're hoping to construct those planter beds and have them available to members of the community, including Fresh Food Factory.
I do garden. I think I've been gardening for like 4 years, I think, roughly. My mom has started gardening on her balcony, but when we were kids, we used to find like seeds all over the house. We found it in the blue cooler, got some water, put it in the like pot, since we already had everything we needed to water, like the watering cans, the soil, so we were all set to go. I was growing green peppers earlier this year. They actually died because I did it late fall, close to winter. I grow herbs like lavender, oregano, basil. I also grew normal peppers like the spicy kind, the non-spicy kind. I did grow a few things you can put in salads like tomatoes. I've been gardening a lot. I grew flowers once, which was pretty cool. And I also tried to grow watermelon.
We are bent towards and determined to eliminate the apartheid on fresh food in our neighborhoods. And I think that we are off to a great start.
You have others like community partners like Martha's Table with Joyful Food Markets and their market over on Elvins Road that are, you know, adding to the food culture within Ward 8. And, you know, you have organizations like Green Scheme and others who are teaching people about gardening and how to grow their own food. So I think all that adds to the food culture within Ward 8.
In Ward 8, we come together when it comes to food. Like a lot of families, they congregate through over meals together. One of the things that I would like to see more families advocate and incorporate into their home and their meals at home with their families is more of a plant-based meal or meals for their families and things like that. More of a healthier substituting some of the things that they may be traditionally used to, like fried foods, but perhaps plant-based and vegetables and things like that. So I would definitely like to see us come together more and kind of, you know, do more healthier options, but I will say the culture of food brings us together here in the ward for the most part.
I try to be a walking testimony of what that can look like when we empower ourselves with the knowledge and we put it into action. And that we advocate not only in our communities, but we tell our children that you can create a new legacy.
Prior to school's closing, I participated at Ann Beers in the Joyful Market program where we distribute fresh fruits and vegetables to our children to take home to their families. There are cooking demonstration programs so that children get an opportunity to know what healthy eating is like and how to get the best out of the food items that are healthy for them.
I consider myself to be a good cook. Sometimes I'm even a little bit better than my parents. I cook meats very well. I try to do my best with vegetables, but like noodles, rice, and grains I'm very good with. But I can't cook certain stuff, but I consider myself a good cook when it's breakfast or lunchtime.
Today we're going to be making strawberry and banana ice cream. Here's how you make it. So you will need a blender, a bowl, a hand mixer, and an ice cream maker. If you don't have those materials, all you'll need is a bowl, a measuring cup, and a whisk. So you will need some bananas, strawberries, coconut milk, vanilla extract, and some honey. So what you'll do first is add your strawberries and your bananas and put them into the blender like this. After we blend the strawberries and bananas, you put this mixture inside the main bowl. Now my brother will explain the other things you need to put before you add this mixture.
So first you need Manuka honey, then you need vanilla flavoring, and then lastly you need your coconut milk.
Now that we're done with it, let's get this party started! Yeah!
And that legacy does not have to be diabetes, heart disease, cancer, hypertension, and any other host of itis that we have had in our past because of the way our city and state and country has been designed.
There are a lot of people, you know, taking up arms to move that needle. So, you know, there's a healthy heart, but there's a lot of opportunity to help the rest of that body be healthier in and around Ward 8.
Well, the carryouts is okay sometimes, but we need more restaurants in Ward 8 that I don't really actually see in Ward 8.
In other places, you may see the different ethnic foods like a sushi bar or maybe Indian cuisine. You wouldn't necessarily see that east of the river.
Growing up in a Jewish household, we would always be treated to things like matzo ball soup and beef brisket and potato latkes when the holidays called for them. And I wouldn't say those options exist in Anacostia, but definitely in the DMV generally.
Foods are medicine and our heritage. We have the collards, the mustard, the turnip, the bitter leaf, the sweet potato leaf, so many different greens that have been made into soups and stews, become a base of the pyramid when you think about our diet and how they're rich in calcium, magnesium, and vitamin C, but also they're strong in fiber content, and they matter in terms of connecting to who we are in order to function in this world and live out our purpose.
I founded Diaspora Fusion Concepts as a response to a problem that I was having. I wanted to have access to delicious ethnic food. It wasn't available to me. And so I found my business so I could feed myself and the community too.
And I love Jamaican food. I've been to Jamaica twice, and I call it my second home. So maybe it is like some type of, mental connection point. But I love to take some food. I love jerk, I love curry, and it tastes good to me.
So in my travels, a lot of what I like to consume is like fresh coconut water from the coconut. So I think that we definitely should have more fresh coconut in our grocery stores here in our ward. Fresh mangoes, avocados, things of that nature. Goji berries, I love goji berries. Things like goji berries being accessible. Like there's only certain stores, grocery stores that you can go to, like the Fresh Food Factory that has that. But if you go to on Alabama Avenue here in the ward, they don't carry goji berries. Why is that? So I would like, those type of fruits and things to be, accessible here in our ward.
From food, we really get this access to information on a particular culture or dish. The ingredients tell us about either the climate in which it was grown, why the people of that particular country decided to make this food. Is it something that's only eaten at a particular season? Is it on special occasion? Food has a story to tell, and it tells the story of the people in which the food originates from. And that's what fascinates me about food and the Afro-Caribbean culture. It's just, there's just so much culture and story and depth into a particular dish.
When we demonize our food, our cultural foods, we demonize our people. And so it's so important that we begin to rebuild and remix and create a culture of food in a way that we can be proud of and that we can leave to the next generation to build a better legacy of food that truly is restoring and reclaiming and really rebuilding our communities better again. Food has been historically weaponized, but it also has been used to build peace. We need to get back to the very essence of what the good in the food represents, to help heal us, to bring peace in our communities, to build communities better together.
And I believe that it's important for us to continue to advocate for more healthy options, more healthy restaurants, more healthy options in our grocery stores, more, grocery stores like the Fresh Food Factory.
The Fresh Food Factory is a store, and if I could change anything about Ward 8, I'd get rid of the liquor stores because we need people more on the earth, and I'd replace it with a store like that sells like natural foods and not just stuff that could kill you, because we do need more people in this world.
So in order to change this, we have to go from the tweets to the streets to the sweets of Congress, of the City Council, our ANCs. Everyone must play an active role into changing these social determinants of health.
This is a call for changing our current food system. No one's socioeconomic status should be our social norm. Food should be for everyone, specifically healthy, local, and ethnic foods. Food is culturally appropriate. Now you are in the driver's seat. We hope that Feed Ward 8 drives you to change and to share your stories. Capture your insights, actions, and impact and send them to our team. Like us, follow us, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell, and DM us videos and screenshots of the change that you are making for yourselves, your family, and the community. We want to show everyone around the world that you have taken action towards a new and inclusive DC food culture. The person with the most engagements and creates the most positive change by Tuesday, April 27, 2021, will be honored as our community hero or shero. The renowned portrait artist Luis Peralta del Valle will paint an image in your likeness, and it will be hung at the Fresh Food Factory's market alongside other heroes and sheroes for all to see.